All right, welcome to the Daily Fantasy Flex podcast, the NBA edition. It is February 3rd. NFL will finish up this weekend, which is exciting. I'm sure we're all excited to watch the Super Bowl and the culmination of that, but that means it's full-time NBA season, so we're excited to talk about this Friday slate. It's 9 games. I will introduce my co-hosts as usual, Justin, Phan, and Jay Persson. Jay, how you doing, man? And who do you have for Super Bowl winner?
I got the Falcons. Going to put some jelly beans on them as well.
Money line, or are you taking the plus?
I'm not sure yet. I'll take the spread. Just a hint for you guys out there. And, I'm excited about tonight, talk NBA. We have the potential return of Jokic, so really exciting. And then, All-Star break right around the corner where we talked a bit yesterday about some of the contests coming up, and I'm sure we'll have tons of wagers along with other fellow FantasyLabs employees because we are crazy degens. So definitely excited for all of that. And Super Bowl should be good.
Yeah, we got the rosters for the dunk contest and the skills. Embiid, it's going to be beautiful, and the 3-point contest as well. So, Justin, what's going on, man? And who do you got for the Super Bowl?
I'll go with the Pats, but I think it'll be a good game. I'm definitely excited for this dunk contest. Derrick Jones is going to be pretty sneaky. We talked about this. Obviously, we want to pound the Aaron Gordon line, but I'm sure there's a lot of value there. I assume he's going to be a pretty heavy favorite. I'm not sure. Not sure it's going to make a lot of financial sense. So might have to pivot to the 3-point contest. Put some jelly beans on Swaggy P, just to have a good sweat. Just the most entertaining player out there. We talked about this. I legitimately don't think he's going to finish like all the racks. Like he's going to be celebrating between racks, and he's just going to forget that he has like 10 seconds left. And he's just probably going to just throw these the last 6 shots up there really quickly. So excited to see Swaggy in there, and a lot of big men in that skills challenge, which is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, no chance that Swaggy P finishes the racks. I mean, this is a weekend built around celebration and stuff, and I mean, he's gonna be fun to watch. That's for sure. All right, well, let's dive into the slate. So we'll keep our usual structure here. So we're gonna kick to Jay in just a second for injuries, and then we're gonna talk a couple games pretty quick. The ones we're gonna talk are Pacers at Nets, and then Bulls at the Rockets. Those are 2 of the 3 highest total games. So some intriguing ones there. The third one is as far as total goes that we're not going to discuss is Lakers at Celtics, but I broke that down in the written breakdown today. So if you want to read about that, check that out. And then we will run through positions as usual. So Jay, I'll kick it to you. Can you go over notable injuries?
Yeah, definitely. We'll start with DeMar DeRozan, who's been out a stretch for Norman Powell to destroy. He's questionable tonight. Rodney Stuckey, obviously out again. Sprained right ankle. Nothing new there. Always getting injured, so that's a bump for Teague. Nene, second leg of back-to-back, could be rested. He's played in a few lately, but sometimes they don't even really let us know if he's rested, so that's something to monitor. Avery Bradley is listed doubtful with the Achilles injury. Kelly Olynyk is listed questionable with his shoulder injury. Julius Randle is just listed questionable for tonight. Pneumonia, didn't play much last night. Roy Hibbert and Spencer Hawes are unlikely to make their Bucks debut until Wednesday. Like I mentioned earlier, we got Nikola Jokic questionable. Will Barton is questionable with the ankle injury. Danilo Gallinari has been ruled out with a strained left groin. We got Moutier, who's questionable, and then Kenneth Faried, for some reason, is probable again. I swear if he's on the report again, it's just I'm going to have to go talk to the local beat writers to report the injury reports. Garrett Temple out 2 to 3 weeks with a partially torn left hamstring. Darren Williams doubtful, sprained left toe. Andrew Bogut out again with a hamstring injury. And then Ed Davis probable after missing the last 5 games with a wrist injury.
Awesome. All right, let's dive right into our game breakdowns. The first one we're going to discuss is going to be the Bulls and the Rockets. This one is in Houston. It has the highest total of the day at 222.5. The Rockets are 6-point favorites. They are implied for 114.25 points. Bulls at 108.25. That's some of the higher marks of the day, especially the Rockets side. So let's start on the Rockets side, because I think the most interesting guy here, sort of despite the high spread, is James Harden. Quick data point: he's faced the Rockets 4 times in the last couple years, and he has averaged just 39.33 FanDuel points, which is a minus 6.08 plus minus. Has not hit salary-based expectations in any of those 4 games, which is a 0% consistency, and has been really high owned despite that. So we're assuming that he's going to match up against Jimmy Butler, and I think that he is a fairly easy fade. Justin, what are your thoughts on Harden?
Yeah, I think I'd probably go with Harden over like Russ still, if you're kind of comparing like the top end guys. Russ going against Memphis, obviously not a great spot. I think Harden's still a good tournament play. I think I prefer Jimmy ahead of Harden. I like Jimmy Butler, Dwayne Wade a lot in this spot, both of them, Jimmy especially. I think Harden's still okay though. He's been pretty good in back-to-backs. I think he's actually been better, in terms of plus minus, on back-to-backs. And, the matchup against Jimmy, plus that the Rockets are going so down in pace in this one, is not great. The pace differential here is -4 for Houston. So not too great. I think Harden's probably more of a tournament play for me, today. But, I think he'll still be fine. The other guy I want to kind of spotlight on the Rockets before we move on is Clint Capella. He's 4,700 on DK and 4,900 on FanDuel. This isn't a really a good spot for me, and not a spot I'd really ever targeted him in against a Bull squad that ranks I think they're second in rebound rate this season, and this is the second leg of a back-to-back. Capella in the second leg of a back-to-back season has kind of seen his rebound rate fall, kind of his overall per minute rates fall. But, the floor here is pretty nice. The price is nice. And I think there's some upside here, especially if Nene sits in the second leg with back-to-back, gives Capella some nice minutes upside potentially. So I think Capella definitely, although the spot on paper isn't that favorable, I think he's still a decent floor play at his price. And kind of moving on there, any other guys in the Rockets that you guys are interested in? Obviously, the guys are most mentioned are Eric Gordon, maybe some Ryan Anderson, some Patrick Beverly. Any interest in any of those peripheral guys?
Not too much. I think just thin tournament exposure to those guys. I'm more on Butler and Wade from this game, and I'm on team fade Harden. Harden's interesting because he's, like you said, he's smashed back-to-backs this season. Really hard average, 62.5 DK points. But the last 5 games against the Bulls and Butler, he's been held under 50% shooting every time. So you kind of have that going against you in his sky-high price. Beverly, all these guys have done well on back-to-backs. Beverly's averaged over 30 DK points. I think his price point is manageable, so I don't mind tournament exposure to him, especially if Harden is kind of locked up, which for him isn't really locked up at all. But he's probably my favorite guy when you consider the price point out of him, Rhino, and Gordon. And then, with Capella, I think it's a thing like last night was perfect spot for him under the radar, cheap. Tonight, I don't like the matchup enough, but if Capella keeps being that cheap, then in future games for sure, I think he's a really crucial tournament play.
Yeah, no, I agree with sort of the peripheral guys for the Rockets, because if you think about it, like if a guy's probably going to struggle, like a main guy like Harden or whoever, one of the high-priced guys, sometimes they'll struggle and they'll have less shots, like their usage rate will go down because of a tough matchup. But Harden, I don't see that happening. I see him taking just as many shots, using the same amount of usage, but just not making them, which means that maybe the Rockets as a whole are going to struggle, which sort of just sort of hurts all of the players. The Vegas line doesn't seem to suggest that, but I do think that's interesting. Capella, it's top. Bulls are second in rebound rate, like you said, Justin. So I think the best guy here is Jimmy. He's crushed his last 2 games ever since that really bad game in which the Bulls got crushed 3 games ago. He's been really solid, and we'll probably go against Ariza. I've looked up via our trends tool just to make sure, because Butler is going to take Harden. I wanted to make sure that he wasn't going to be in trouble against Harden just because of the energy that he has to put on guarding Harden, and he's actually been really good against them over the last couple of years. He's had a +6 ±. So I don't think that's really affected him that much. So is Harden fine, or is Butler fine in cash for you, Justin?
Absolutely. I think he's really safe in the spot. I like him a lot. I do mention D Wade. I like a lot too. He's really good, solid price as always on DK at $7K. What I really like about Wade has been the rebounding. I think he's averaging 6 rebounds or so per game over the last half dozen or so. He's been pretty consistent contributor in that area. Kind of gives him another dimension. And obviously, this wing is where you want to attack this Rockets team, especially with Harden and Ariza. Been very generous. So, and this shapes up perfectly where the 2 best offensive players on the Bulls are their wing players. So I like getting both Butler and Wade. I don't have a problem playing both of them. I don't think I'm taking a stance and playing Wade in cash, but I think he makes for a really good tournament play. I like the overall upside here for him.
For sure. All right, let's move on to our next game, then we'll hit positions. This one is going to be the Pacers at the Nets. This game has a 219.5 total right now. It opened at 222, so it's come down 2.5 points since opening. The Pacers are implied for 113.25 points, which is the 3rd highest mark today. I think it's pretty obvious that you want to target Brooklyn in DFS. They rank 1st in pace, and they are one of the 3 worst teams in terms of defensive efficiency. So I think that there's probably a lot of guys for the Pacers that we want to target. I think the number 1 guy that you have to look at here is Miles Turner. Jay, what are your thoughts on the Pacers?
Yeah, I think this kind of dictates most of the slate is these guys, and I'm fine rolling probably 3 of them in cash, starting with Miles, like you said, went off for 25 and 15 with 5 blocks last game. Brooklyn, 30th in defense efficiency against centers this season. So I think he's a clear-cut cash play. And then you look at Paul George and Jeff Teague as well. Teague's averaged 37.5 against them this season. Paul George, 40. The thing with the Pacers that's interesting to look at is their home road splits this season. This is the 4th time they've played the Nets and the 2nd time on the road. And you look at a lot of these guys, they do significantly better at home. I think it's tough to kind of overweight that when you look at just the Brooklyn defense. So I'm still fine going these guys in cash, knowing that Teague averages 4 points less on the road. Paul George averages 4 points less. Miles Turner's extreme. He averages 8 points less on the road. So I'm going into it kind of almost ignoring that and focusing on this matchup a bit more. And maybe this is the spot that might change my mind. If they bust again, maybe it's okay, you can't play Miles Turner comfortably on the road. So that's kind of where I'm at with the Pacers. I think those 3 are strong cash options on both sides.
Yeah, I think the question is, are you worried about the home road splits for the Pacers? Because they are, I think, the most extreme, or at least one of the most extreme teams in the NBA as far as how good they are at home versus the road. So that's the question is, are you concerned about that, or is the matchup just too good where you just say, not today? Justin, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think probably Turner is the one that gives you the most pause out of the 3 that we talked about. I think there's a benefit of being a little bit less worse on the road for the Pacers, in that this spread is only 7 points, which is good. And, at least these guys are kind of probably going to see full complement of minutes. But yeah, I think there's definitely some concern here. Not enough for me to get off PG and Jeff Teague. I think I really like Teague, especially. I think he's probably my favorite out of the 3, just in a vacuum. But Turner, I think I'm going to have to think that over. He just not, I don't think as automatic as people think today, given his extreme splits. Like he just came off a matchup against the Magic on the road.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a really, really juicy spot too, traditionally against Vooch and those guys. And he put up 23 in 32 minutes, which was, just.
The Magic have been surprisingly pretty good against DFS guys lately, like in the last week or two.
Yeah. But that was a matchup I expected him to do a lot better than the 23. So, he put up 28 against the Lakers, I think a couple of weeks ago on the road. Like there's like these spots that have come up where, I think, he's put up 18 against the Nuggets.
It's worsened.
Like there's some spots where you're just kind of going in, you're kind of expecting, this is going to be a good Miles tournament game, but on the road, he just seems to struggle.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's very fair, and that's sort of what you have to decide is whether you're okay with that. I mean, he also has a lot of positive indicators. I mean, the Nets are the worst team against in the league against centers. They allow a plus 6.05 FanDuel plus minus position, and Miles Turner dropped 55 FanDuel points exactly a month ago against Brooklyn. So
yeah, they allow the most blocks per game too, which really helps someone like Miles. I agree. Yeah, I think for me, I'm still going to go him. And then if this is the spot where he busts again on the road, then it might be a real thing.
Yeah, which it might make sense to fade him in tournaments, or at least be a little underweight on him for that reason.
So are you guys going PG and cash on DK? Obviously a really good price at 8,100 in the spot. Brooklyn rings have been atrocious this season. Obviously this is a prime spot to attack. Let's stack this up like two guys we just talked about. Like, would you go Jimmy Butler or Paul George today?
I probably lean PG just because of the discount in price, but I think they're very, very close.
Yeah,
I personally probably lean Jimmy Butler, but what do you think, Jay?
I mean, I think it's close. I think it comes down to price.
Roster,
I'm going Teague and Miles maybe. Then I think it's fine having some Jimmy. I definitely like Jimmy more, and I feel better about him. So I'd probably try to get him there.
If they were the same price, I'd play Jimmy. But if I need the $900 on DK, I'm fine with going down.
You probably do need a 900. Yeah, I think it becomes pretty close.
It's close. I don't know. I would like to get Jimmy for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So anybody else here that we like from this game? From the Brooklyn side, obviously always Brook Lopez is in consideration on DraftKings. Like literally every day, I think he's like probably top of or near the top of the model. Obviously, he's disappointed pretty badly these last two games against Miami, against New York. Averaged about 25 DK points combined, but you kind of look at before that, he's been very consistent usually. And obviously in the spot against Indiana, opponent plus minus a +5. So Brook Lopez at home in a close spread. Pretty nice on DK at 65.
Yeah, he did struggle against them when they played a month ago. He put up only 25 DK points against Miles Turner. So
he's averaged 29 in 3 games. The thing with Brook is most centers do well against Indy because Indy's a horrible rebounding team, and Brook can't even.
It's not a rebound.
But he's the guy here for sure that you want to take. And Brooklyn just has been playing so many guys minutes. Great with Joe Harris back. If they're not resting anybody, it's kind of really difficult to pick guys to spot. They did make a lineup change, which I'm not sure will carry over again today. But what do you think about that with Rondé Hollis-Jefferson starting? If he does again, 30 minutes last game, took 11 shots, and then Booker off the bench taking 11 shots in only 16 minutes. Is there any intrigue in either of those two guys?
I mean, like I knew that Rondé was going to get close to 30 minutes again, but that's the problem is all these guys, they'll bump up to 30 minutes randomly for a game. LeVert will even randomly get 30 minutes, but then they were right back down. So, I mean, if you think about it that way, they are way too risky for cash games, obviously. And what is really Rondé's upside, That's my concern. So, I mean, if you want to have 150 lineups and have them in, a couple, I think that's fine. But the problem is there's just very little upside outside of Brolo. You have any Brooklyn guys other than Brolo you can make a case for, Justin?
I mean, on a price basis, Boyan's always okay on FanDuel, but he's just a he's not going to get you much. Like, it's just like he's going to get you like 20, 21 FanDuel points, and that's about it. And they're obviously always like kind of better plays and just better plays with more upside too. So, I think that's about it. We kind of talked about this team. It's just like a glut of wings that play 20 to 27 minutes or something. Like, it's not enough to really be too excited about any of these guys, really.
Yeah, very fair. All right, let's move on to our positions. I think that's enough about that game. It's probably not going to be too good. Let's start with point guard here. We've already discussed a guy who I think is probably going to be pretty chalky in Teague, but there's as usual, point guard has a lot of interesting guys here. So, Jay, I'll kick to you. I specifically wanted to hear your thoughts on Yogi Ferrell, and then other guys that you're interested in.
Yeah, Yogi's kind of the question of the day. If you're still fine going him, I don't think much has changed from the last few outside of his price, of course. So, I think if you're a Yogi believer and that he can keep it up with this, I think 21% usage rate. He started off really bad last game. His price is up to I think 4,900 now on FanDuel, and even 51 I think on DK. So it's going to kind of come down to that. We have a few other kind of cheap guys. I mean, Darren Collison I think is intriguing at 4,800 on FanDuel, for example. That's a similar price point. Assuming you kind of pair one of these two or another cheap guy along with Teague, who we already kind of mentioned.
And Brogdon's right in that same price point too, going against Denver.
Yeah, I mean, like, how many times do we see a point guard just go off against Denver who's low owned because they're not like it's not like a Russell Westbrook or Lillard or whatever. It's a Brogdon type guy, and you're like, wow, he had a big game. So yeah, Brogdon's there as well. And another guy who's a little bit more expensive is who I still like in tournaments is Reggie Jackson, who I think is still kind of underpriced on both sides. So I think that Teague is kind of your option 1A in cash. You kind of pair him with most likely another cheap guy. And I don't know. I'm on the fence on Yogi, actually.
Yeah,
I play Yogi on FanDuel still. I mean, you mentioned those other guys, Collison and Brogdon, but those are just like tournament pivots for me because you can talk about Yogi all you want. Like, he's been pretty bad like the last two games in terms of shooting. Like, he's been horrible like shooting from the field. But the thing is, he offers so much safety with those minutes. Like, there's literally no reason to believe he's not going to play like 36, 37 minutes again with Darren Williams doubtful. That's such security. That's such a floor. Like I mentioned in the last spot, he can put up like 0.6 FanDuel points per minute, which is awful, and still be well ahead of his value. Like, he doesn't even have to be that good just because of that spot, the minutes, and the forced usage with Darren out. Yeah, he's gonna be fine. And
he has a good matchup.
Yeah, with the guys with like Darren Collison, his offers so much volatility just with good spot. I like his backcourt mate a lot too, like kind of as a pun on DK Ty Lawson. I think he's really interesting. But those are kind of more tournament plays for me. I think, a top end guy we need to talk about, obviously, Isaiah Thomas. Just been absolutely smashing, especially in the fourth quarter as usual. He needs to be, right up there. I think he's one of the top plays overall on DK, at 10K even against this Lakers team that just gave up 58 or something to John Wall. So it's like Isaiah I'm extremely comfortable with on DK. I think it's probably.
What if Bradley plays?
I don't think he's going to play though.
Yeah, I mean, he's listed doubtful for now, but I think Isaiah at his price, I think the only way to go him is to make sure Bradley's out. So.
Yeah, I think it may not matter even if Bradley's in because it's the Lakers, but I do think that.
Well, it does because Isaiah's 10K now. I don't think you can justify paying 10K for Isaiah with Avery Bradley.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, there's kind of a difference in usage between Avery Bradley and Jalen Brown. Yeah, in cash. Like I'm talking cash. Isaiah should be a top cash option with Bradley, presumably. But I think Kyle Lowry. We have the same thing. DeMar DeRozan is questionable right now. That kind of swings him whether or not DeRozan's in or not. I guess right now that DeRozan's probably like 60-40, but it's pretty close. I think. D'Angelo Russell, we got to talk about second leg of a back-to-back. I don't like this. I don't really like targeting him as second leg of a back-to-back, but obviously Randall's going to be really limited again if he plays. I expect him to play probably 10 to 12 minutes tops off the bench. He played 5 minutes yesterday. So, and he's already questionable, which is not promising. D'Angelo, man, like I think he's probably the top tournament option at point guard by far.
Yeah, he's still just too cheap. 5,900 on DK. Like they really need to raise his price. They've been good on raising prices for every other player. And D'Angelo's just really slipping through the cracks. We saw last night he was cheap again. So definitely like D'Angelo. A guy I like a lot as a tournament play is Mike Conley. Broke 42.5 against him earlier this season. OKC gives up 2.1 steals per game to opposing point guards because Russ turns the ball over 5.5 times per game. So I like Conley a lot as a tournament play, kind of getting overlooked by some of these cheaper options and then kind of the top tier plays.
And I think Westbrook is a fine tournament play too. I mean, if you look at how he's performed against Memphis, it's going to look bad because in one of those games he got ejected in the first quarter. But then in the other one in which he played the full game, he put up 57.6 FanDuel points. So. Yep,
60. He went for 66 DK points, 24, 13, and 12 against Memphis. So, I like the Conley call, +5 in pace differential. Coming up in pace against OKC is nice. One other guy I wanted to mention, Marcus Smart on FanDuel, I think is a fine tournament option as well. I think this, especially assuming Avery Bradley's out, I think Smart's got some upside here against the Lakers, some steal potential. He's been really solid in the last couple of games. I think he can potentially challenge for 28 to 30 FanDuel points, which would be 7 plus points above the implied expectation. So I think Marcus Smart, a guy we actually went through like literally every single player on that like 4 or 5 game slate that we did. We didn't mention Marcus Smart at all, and he just smashed as a result. So I think it's time to give him some dab. I'm going to give him some dab and get ahead of it here and shout him out. Let's see.
The only other guys that I think we're missing that I like quite a bit for tournaments is this Toronto-Orlando game. Toronto has struggled against point guard, so Elf has been bad lately, but I mean we've seen his upside, so for tournaments. And then Lowry, like he's been a must play without DeRozan, and his price has come up, and DeRozan is questionable, so like people are overlooking him, especially with the cheap guys and guys like Thomas who are just a little bit more ahead of him. But Lowry's even in bad situations, he played that back-to-back after overtime, and he's still crushed without DeRozan.
Yeah, I mean, if DeRozan's out, for sure, it bumps Lowry up a lot. But I don't think DeRozan will be out.
Sure.
It's tough to go on that. But of course, I guess one other guy is Rubio. If you want to go back with the Rubio Cat at home combo, I'm fine doing that as well.
Any interest in Eric Bledsoe here against the Kings? I think this game could be pretty.
The Wolves are on the road, right?
Yeah, the Wolves are on the road. Yeah,
they are.
Yeah.
They're at Detroit.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Then 0.
Yeah, that's why I'm off Cat. Yeah.
0.
So going back, any interest in Eric Bledsoe here against the Kings?
Yeah, I like him quite a bit in tournaments. I mean, the Kings have been he has a negative opponent plus/minus against the Kings, not because Collison's a world defender, but just for the reason we've been talking about is pace. Yeah, Kings play super slow with Jaeger this year, so. But I think Bledsoe can smash against anybody. So.
Yeah, I do too. Bledsoe's shown some pretty massive ceilings lately, so I like him, especially at what should be low ownership.
Yeah, man. I mean, like
pace is the kind of the big.
Not a lot of guys here can give you like 50, 60 DK point ceilings. Like, and Bledsoe's that guy, and I expect him to play, a decent amount of minutes too in this one.
And he should be low owned, just where his price is relative to Isaiah.
Yeah, going against a childhood friend, Boogie Cousins. I think I read they've known each other since 7th grade, so it'd be good to get back together and go after each other for sure.
Definitely. Okay, let's move to shooting guard. We've already given our thoughts on Harden versus Butler, but then the next guy that I think we have to discuss is Giannis, who's going against a Denver team that's not very good defensively. So I think that Giannis, at 10-9 on FanDuel, and he's even cheaper on DraftKings, is a guy, like, if you're going to pay up, like, I think he's the dude to go. Justin, what are your thoughts on Giannis today?
Yeah, I mean, he's been bad lately. Like, he's the last 9 games, he's cracked 47 FanDuel points once. But I think this is obviously a prime spot, and I don't know if I'm going to go him in cash just yet. I think he's probably more of an elite tournament player for me, even given this spot. But yeah, I think this is a really good buy low opportunity, especially if you kind of go click through his game logs, and you'll be pretty disappointed. Especially if you've rostered him lately. At his price, he has to hit 46 FanDuel points to hit implied value, and like I said, he's gone 47 plus just once in his last 9 games. So good buy low opportunity, but probably more of a tournament option for me.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, so where are we looking at other than the high price guys? Harden and Giannis, if they're not going to be guys that we're looking to roster in cash games, where are we looking at? Maybe some Devin Booker for you, Jay?
Yeah, I don't mind Booker in tournaments for sure. I think for cash, it's pretty tough kind of getting shooting guards down for cash. I think a lot of the guys who've been going have been priced up a bit. Seth Curry, is the big guy who's been like 70% owned, got a price increase. The thing with Dallas that I like a lot is that their starters have just been playing such massive minutes lately, with Dirk and Darren out and Brea, who's still out, of course. And with those guys out, Curry's averaged 34.6 DK points in 4 games. And then you look at another guy, Wes Matthews, who's also did well, 26.7 with those guys off the court in 3 games. So those 2 guys are intriguing. Their prices kind of aren't where I want them to be, really. So it's kind of just figuring out your other spots. I think it's going to come down to shooting guard at the end for me, in that I'd like to go Giannis, but like you said, his consistency and lack of a ceiling lately worries me. The matchup with Denver, pretty great. So I don't know. I think shooting guard and power forward are the 2 toughest positions for sure on this slate. So I think it's tough. I like a lot of guys for tournaments. We mentioned Dwayne Wade. I think he's in that cash game mix, probably on DK at 7K. I'd like him to be a couple hundred less, of course, but it's kind of with all these guys, they're priced up a little bit too much. I think Booker even kind of with his lack of, like you're getting 30 from him basically. And then one guy, KCP after his explosion, is he kind of still just a tournament play only?
I think if you just sort of look what shooting guard is, I don't think cash is super awful.
I think it's fine on FanDuel at 6K still. I think it's fine. What I like is obviously he's still going up in pace a little bit. I think he's the guy especially that I look for a pace differential on. KCP is very, very, very good in high pace differential games. So this one's not as great. It's just a 0.5 differential in pace. But kind of looking at the other option, I think he's definitely fine. Decent enough track record against the Wolves. And yeah, I think he definitely in the mix. Seth Curry, I think probably right up there for me just in terms of floor. Kind of carrying over that Yogi Ferrell thing. Just the minutes and the usage bumps for these guys. You mentioned Wes Matthews, obviously the revenge game. We talked about he's been in these spots a couple of times against Portland, so that's some intrigue there. I don't know who else. Gary Harris I think is really interesting on DK. I think he's still really underpriced at 4,700 in this spot against Milwaukee without Gallinari. So I think he's pretty safe there. I think he's definitely in the mix. I don't think I'm going to go Aaron Aflalo. Aflalo is pretty good, points per dollar, but he literally offers no ceiling at all. He's just kind of give you, 18 or 16 or whatever, and that's it.
Right.
But that's so tough, man. If you sort by fantasy points per minute for shooting guard, Aflalo's at the very bottom.
0.54.
Dead last.
Yeah.
I think if you're looking in cash, I think that sort of group of Wade, Booker, Curry, and KCP is sort of probably where you're leaning here. So sort of that mid-tier range, which is fine. It allows you to get up for some of these other expensive studs. But if we're looking for GPP options, what are your thoughts on some Lou Williams, Jay?
Yeah, definitely. Especially if Randall's limited or not even plays, it's D'Angelo and Lou Will's flashed that ceiling too. So and kind of with his ownership priced in, that's some good value with
Yeah,
Lillard.
he's right between Devin Booker and Seth Curry, so you think that his ownership would probably be fairly limited.
Yeah,
it's just tough. It's just really tough with his minutes, though. I mean, I don't see him playing much more than like 23, 24. So it's like, how much can he cram in those minutes? Like the return of DeAndre just kind of curbs his ceiling quite a bit, in my opinion. But obviously, it's
fair. I mean, like if you look at these guys, I mean, like you have obviously Giannis and Harden with high ceilings, and after that, like who has the highest ceiling other than that? I mean, especially if DeRozan is out, like McCollum is in a really tough spot against super slow-paced Dallas. I mean, D Wade is like pretty nice.
Wade's really nice. I mean,
but other than that, like no one has a high ceiling,
That's kind of how it is usually. I don't know. I mean, you have Giannis and Harden, and then you got some other guys. But I think going through a lot of these guys really makes me like Wade a lot more. I think the good slates kind of go really heavy on Wade in tournaments.
Yeah, no, that's really fair. Norm Powell was really fun with DeRozan out, but he's
really, really fun. Yeah.
And he would be another guy that you look at if DeRozan's ruled out. So.
I will touch up on some Nuggets news that's coming in, kind of affecting Gary Harris too, but Will Barton is expected to play. Moutier will play. Have a minutes limit. Jokic is back. Will play limited minutes as well. Kenneth Faried remains probable.
So Jokic is in.
Yeah, Jokic is playing. Yeah. He's going to play limited minutes.
Yeah, and Wilson Chandler is starting for Gallo in place. So you take it into consideration.
Sure. Yeah. Breaking news there. All right, let's move on to small forward. We've discussed Jimmy. He's definitely up there. We discussed Paul George. So those, I think, are two favorite, top options. And I think we both agree that you should, or we all three of us agree that we should pay up for at least one of those two in cash games, just the safety they provide in their matchups. But if we're looking, sort of down for a value guy to pair with them, Matt Barnes is a guy that's been, getting some buzz on Twitter, and it's easy to see why with his minutes and his low price points. And, Jay Crowder is a guy who's just been a lock in cash games. Justin, what are your thoughts on sort of a small forward two to pair with those guys?
I think Matt Barnes is very easy on FanDuel. I think you don't have to think it at all. He's pretty automatic at 3,700, given he's probably going to play 28 to 30 minutes, going to go up in pace a lot against the Suns, plus 5.2 pace differential, and going to probably see a little tiny bump in usage as well. Garrett Temple is pretty a stabilizing force for that starting lineup. So Barnes is going to get a lot of run in this one, and I expect the best defenders on Phoenix, namely PJ Tucker, to spend a lot of time regarding Boogie Cousins. Definitely Barnes can kind of take advantage of Boogie guarding a lot of that attention. So I think Barnes is pretty easy on FanDuel at 37. I definitely am play on DK as well at 39. Beyond that, Jay Crowder. I don't know, like who else are we kind of looking here as the guys you're feeling? For me on FanDuel is kind of a tighter core with those three. Obviously we got Paul George on DK at 81. Wilson Chandler is really nice on DK at 57.
I like Harrison Barnes still quite a bit with these guys out. He's averaged 35 DK points in those 4 games with Darren Bogut Bray out. Crowder averaged 30 without Bradley. So if Bradley's confirmed out, I still like Crowder fine. But I think in cash, you might want to just take the plunge with Matt Barnes. Frees up a lot of salary that can really come in handy on this slate. But I think there are ways you can probably go Butler and Paul George. I think that's doable on this slate. And I think especially for tournaments, that's something that I want to do a lot, because you're kind of getting into a lot of these other guys who make sense in cash but might not have the ceiling that you want that Paul George and Jimmy Butler have. So, I think the Barnes is Crowder. And then you kind of just get in Wilson Chandler in that mix as well. So,
I was going to ask you what your thoughts on the Denver wing situation is.
Yeah, I mean, with all these guys back, I mean, you sub Melo or Gallo out, you get back Jokic, you get back Barton, who was doubtful, upgrade to probable. Moody is limited. It's they're going to have a lot of bodies. Hernan Gomez. So I don't know. I think they're mostly tournament plays for me. I don't really want to take that plunge with Jokic back. Presumably starting, I would think. He said it wouldn't be a tight minutes limit. So I think with all those guys kind of still there outside of Gallo, it makes them just be tournament plays for me.
That's really fair. It's tough. I mean, Wilson Chandler has such a high opponent plus minus. Something we discussed before is Jabari slides down to guard the 3, which lets Giannis guard the 4. So usually small forwards against Milwaukee do pretty good. But other than that, you're right. I mean, it's tough. I mean, who among the rest of the guys has a high enough ceiling that we're willing to roster? It's really sort of Butler, George, and then no one with the high ceiling. I mean, Wiggins probably has the highest ceiling in that, but against Detroit, I mean, where are you looking in tournaments, Justin?
Man, Luol Deng's interesting, but secondly, with back-to-back, for someone of his age, I don't really like too much. I want to tout TJ Warren so bad because I think Marquise Chris might play 2 minutes and get 6 fouls in 2 minutes against Boogie.
Mm-hmm.
And I think TJ Warren is going to get a decent amount of run here. Probably could see 30 minutes as a result of foul trouble. Like I mentioned, I expect Chris to get an early foul trouble, PJ Tucker to guard Boogie for most of the game, and TJ Warren will slide over and slide in and play a lot of threes. So, but I don't like this spot really against a Kings team that is so down in pace. So that pace differential really kind of curbs the ceiling a little bit for me.
What are your thoughts on Harry Barnes?
I like Harrison Barnes a lot. I think I'd probably still go Crowder straight up over Barnes, but I can definitely see the case for Barnes in tournaments just because obviously this matchup. But Barnes takes a hit obviously with Dirk's in the lineup and expect to play fuller minutes. Like when Dirk's in there, Harry's kind of spotting up on the perimeter and not doing a whole lot of ISO work like he usually does. So that makes it, that makes me like Crowder more in cash, but Barnes is still fine in tournaments.
Agreed.
Beyond that, I agree on Wilson Chandler. With Jokic back, I think Jokic is still going to control and dominate possession with that first unit. I think Chandler's probably more of a tournament player. We have some pretty strong small forward options here: Jimmy, Paul George, Crowder, Matt Barnes, that I like a little bit more. Who else here? Let's see.
That's about it.
I'm not going to force it. We talked briefly about Bogdan. I'm with you on top.
Yeah, not a tournament play.
Tucker deserves some tournament exposure.
I'm not like shooting guards. Like it really, when you run through the guys, it really makes you really want Butler and PG.
I think in tournaments I'll have a lot of lineups with both Butler and
guys.
I think that makes sense.
All right, let's move over to power forward. So if you just look, this is another tough position like shooting guard. The highest priced guy by quite a bit is Jokic, but like we just announced, he's going to play limited minutes, so I don't think he can pay his 10-3 price tag on FanDuel, which means that I think that you're probably looking at a lot of these mid-tier guys like on shooting guard, and I think some interesting guys, right around that range is Dirk. In Serge, those are guys who, like in Serge Ibaka, right in that 5-6 range. Is that where you're looking, Justin? Sort of that mid-tier range for both of your power forwards today?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think this is a spot you want to pay up at all. Dirk, I think he's been kind of a victim of the schedule. They had a couple back-to-backs and tough spots for him where kind of wasn't quite right. He's got a day off here and really a dream matchup against Portland. So he's still really brutally underpriced on FanDuel at 5,500. Got a 52% bargain rating there. He's still pretty nice on DK as well. What's his price over there? He's 52 there. So he's Jesus, like
so cheap. So cheap.
So I think he's definitely in the mix. And well, let's talk about your boy. I mean, we can talk about Ibaka for sure in a little bit, but let's talk about your boy Jabari.
Yeah, what's to say about the Jabari? I mean, maybe
Bryan loves him some Jabari.
The best 3 players in the NBA. I mean, is that too bullish? No, I mean, I guess the question is, who's going to guard him on Denver? Like, I would assume that they're going to play bigger right? With Jokic and these guys back.
I mean, I
I
think Wilson Chandler will see play a lot of 4 too.
Yeah.
But Jabari, I mean, for me, just looking at prices with these other guys, Jabari is the tournament play. I'm looking to kind of Dirk 1A.
Yeah, I don't think I'd go Jabari in cash just because of his
I think
price.
you have to. Yeah,
because I like Ibaka in Dirk quite a bit for cash on FanDuel. So, but I do like Jabari. Like he probably has the highest ceiling of all the players tonight, right?
It's up there. Yeah, I mean, I love Jabari for tournaments for sure. What are your guys' thoughts on everybody's favorite player to play, Thaddeus Young? Everybody always goes to him in spots like this.
I don't think he's going to be too chalky. He's kind of been what he is. I think he's okay to have a little bit of exposure to in tournaments, I guess. But
I don't even think he has a ceiling worth rushing in tournaments.
I can see it. I think he's been pretty stable around like 2023, like the last
I'm not really on him. I think he's a cash player.
Yeah, he had 10 points. He had 22.7 FanDuel points last time they played the Nets. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
he did well before that.
Yeah. No,
so a guy I want to shout out to is Gorgie Jang. I think we're kind of off Cat and Rubio on the road, but Gorgie's a guy who's really thrived on the road. He kind of has those opposite splits, and where Cat struggles, Gorgie kind of picks up the slack and does well. I think he makes for an interesting tournament play against Detroit here. Not a team I like to target particularly, but 5,500 on FanDuel I think is, you kind of look around at the position, viable tournament plays. I think he definitely fits the bill.
Yeah, I mean, and other than that, I mean, you're getting into very fringe like tournament guys like
Zebo.
Yeah, I mean, Zebo, Tobias played really well last game, but he's pretty volatile. I mean, where are you looking in tournaments other than sort of the obvious guys like that?
I mean,
it's tough.
Yeah, it's really tough to kind of get that ceiling that you want. Like a guy like Fareed has a big ceiling with Jokic limited, with Moutier limited, Gallo out. I mean, I think Fareed still should get some tournament exposure just because you compare ceilings for all these guys, and Fareed doesn't necessarily need massive minutes to kind of hit his ceiling. He's got the double-double upside in quick minutes. So, I mean, he's intriguing to me, but I think for tournament play, I'll be probably a bit heavy on Jabari if he's going to go slightly under-owned.
Yeah. I mean, it really, like, if Jokic is going to be limited, Jabari probably is the best chance to be the high-scoring guy.
Is there any Jokic exposure, like, at all? I know he's insanely priced up. Malone said it's not going to be a tight minutes limit. We've seen in the past, we've gotten burned by this where coaches are like, oh, yeah, he's being monitored or he's on a limit. Go off and play all game. I don't see that in this case.
Yeah, because they do have options. They're pretty deep now at in the front court. They got Fareed, who's played pretty heavy at full-time center the last couple of games while he's been out. Davis got Nurk if they need to go him. They got Jarrell Arthur too if they want to go a little small ball.
So I
think they've got some bodies there to where they don't have to force it on Jokic. Jokic is still priced like he's
right.
Jokic. So it's like,
and I'm not sure his ownership's going to be like low enough to warrant.
I think it'll be.
Yeah, I don't think people are going to be.
Nobody's going to spend up.
Well, you have to be sub 5% in order for that to be.
I think he's going to be sub 5%.
Dude, he's 9,300 on DK and like 10.
Yeah, on FanDuel.
I'm just curious how many people are going to like know that he's going to be limited.
10-3, yeah.
10-3 on FanDuel, yeah.
But I mean, if you look at his last games, he's had a plus 10.1 FanDuel plus minus over his last 10 games. So my question is, are people really going to know that he's limited? Because if not, then
I mean, hopefully, they follow the FantasyLabs NBA account so they know. But
I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, at this spot where there's such barren options, and it's like I mean, who gives you a true ceiling of like?
What about any Tariq Blacklove if Randall's out, or kind of any of that front court? Are you intrigued by any of those guys?
I mean, I think maybe Dang would be the guy that I would be intrigued most by. But like back to back again, that's tough. Yeah, not really, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't mind some shares of Tarek on DK at 32. I think it's still okay.
Yeah.
I expect Randall, again, to be severely limited again, and Black should draw the start. Though I'm not sure how
what
much
about Phan Maker against Jokic, Jay? I mean, little Phan?
I mean, Phan, yeah, I don't know, 20 minutes of Phan. No, I don't think so. I want more upside, and you're never going to cash him, so it just doesn't make sense. And it doesn't even matter that the two bigs aren't available because Plumlee wasn't even in the rotation anyways. So you're not really gaining anything for him.
That was a way more serious answer than the question deserved. So I appreciate that.
Phan's earned it. He was Thorpe's
number 13.
Yeah, shout out Thorpe for that. So
yeah. That was interesting.
You said Jabari is a top 3 player in the league. Jabari might not be a top 3 player in his team according to Thorpe.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right, let's finish up with center here. I think we discussed how much we like Miles, and we went into the nuances of that with home road splits. But I'll start at the top here because the two most expensive guys pretty significantly are Boogie Cousins against Towns. I'll give my quick takes here and then kick it to you guys. I don't think this is tough. Cousins is going against Phoenix. He has he's on the right side of his home road splits. He's better at home. Both of these guys are better at home, and he's at home, and he gets a pretty bad defense in Phoenix. Towns is on the road where he's bad. He is in a very paced down game against Detroit. So I think it's pretty easy that Cousins is the guy if you're going to pay up. Jay, what are your thoughts? Do you disagree there?
No, not at all. I mean, Boogie should just murder this matchup really hard, and he's kind of my tournament guy, especially if you're worried about Miles on the road splits. I'm still likely going to cash Miles and go heavy on Boogie in tournaments, but that's the guy for me. I think it's pretty clear. If you're spending up, you go a lot of Boogie here. And then after that, kind of get into the usual where we have like Brook Lopez cheap on DK. A guy I like a lot is in tournaments is Al Horford as well.
Oh, yeah.
Lakers are 29th in defense efficiency against centers this season, so obviously a good spot for him. And then after that, I mean, I'm probably going to keep my center pool kind of small on this slate because we have some guys that really stand out for me. I mean, I think it's Boogie, Miles, and Horford, and then maybe a little bit of like Vucevic, Brook Lopez, and maybe a little Marcus Gasol, but I'm not really looking too much outside of that.
Yeah, Horford at 6'8" on DraftKings is real nice. What are your thoughts on center, Justin?
Yeah, I like Horford a lot, obviously. I think Mason Plumlee is kind of interesting on DK against Dirk.
I'd love him in tournaments.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always on Mason Plumlee in tournaments, especially on DK. Like, he has a legit ceiling. I think he has a decent floor, too, especially if this one stays close. Obviously, I don't like the pace down too much. Obviously, there's a lot fewer possessions, but this Dallas team, I think, is still last in rebound rate amongst all teams, and they're going to be starting Dirk at center, presumably. And Plumlee should, be pretty intriguing here in this spot.
He's had 10 rebounds in his last 8 games. And Dallas is last in rebound rate. So
and he since the lineup change with Evan Turner and Vonleh, Plumlee's seen the biggest increase in usage out of all the starters. So that's pretty nice too. I think it's like a 3.5%.
Yeah, 6'3" on DK. I like him quite a bit. Yeah, I mean, other than that,
anybody else?
Yeah, Justin, where are you looking other than that? That's tough. Yeah. I mean, like you have
any Drummond love at all? No.
I want to. I mean, he was really bad last game, but like the matchup, like if we're expecting like Minnesota not to be that great because of their home road splits, like there's a case to be made for it.
So a guy on FanDuel that I like quite a bit in tournaments is Nick Vucevic in the spot at home. He played Toronto, I think, a couple weeks ago or a week ago, and he put up 57 DK points against them. He's been playing really well as of late, and I think this is a spot you can definitely take advantage of. He's shown a legit ceiling in this spot, and the usage should obviously continue to be there. So Vucevic is a guy I'll shout out on FanDuel. I think he's probably, especially a great tournament pivot off Horford, who's 200 more. I think everybody's going to gravitate towards Horford in this dream spot against the Lakers, and Vooch might go pretty overlooked on FanDuel.
Yeah, I like that call. I was joking about him earlier a little bit, but serious question with this trade, like what are you doing with the Milwaukee big rotation, Justin? Like just as far as terms of minutes go, not that these guys are like great plays, but just just for a frame of reference here.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of I don't know. It didn't change too much for me. I think it'll kind of go to like Michael Beasley, see a little uptick in minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Thon Maker, he's been starting, so he's probably going to see 20 plus minutes again. And Mears might play like 7 or 8 off the bench.
You think Monroe will stay the same?
Yeah, I think Monroe probably stays around 24, 25 minutes off the bench. He has some slight upside here. Obviously, you kind of look at some of these guys that profile with that have some that's shown flash ceilings in the past, and Monroe certainly fits that bill. So he's decent on FanDuel as well at 5,700. Might be even better on DK. I think. Let me check his price there. He's 5,300 there. So
I don't mind some Monroe.
Yeah, it's decent. It's fine. And but over there, I think I still much rather pay up another $1K to get to Mason Plumlee. Mason Plumlee is my guy on DK.
I like that.
Brian's on mute over there.
I guess we can mention Capella again, circle back, and
What about Gasol, Jay?
Yeah, it's like I mentioned Gasol.
Oh, it's tough, man. Against Steven Adams?
Yeah, I don't love the spot. So, what about Tyson Chandler? Any love for him at all? I mean, like,
why are you the one bringing up Tyson Chandler? I
hate Tyson Chandler, but once every 12 days he wins someone $100K by himself, basically. So.
That's fair. I mean, against Boogie, it's tough, right?
He's gonna be on Kufis a lot. I think I'm expecting like Marquise Chris and PJ Tucker to get Boogie.
Oh yeah, I'm not worried about like the one-on-one matchup. Like it's not like he's gonna like do spin moves and like really be affected by that. But like Boogie's a great rebounder. That's really where all of his value is. So against like a team that plays big with 2 centers.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Sacramento's still not that great on rebounding the season. You think it used to be a lot worse, but they're still on the season. They're 22nd rebound rate. So they've been a lot better lately. I think we talked maybe a month or so ago about how Boogie was like didn't get double-digit rebounds for like a week, like a month or something straight, or a couple weeks straight. He's definitely turned that around. So they're a little bit more formidable.
The Marcus Gasol challenge.
Yeah. Yeah, how he's they're on the perimeter so often that it's a little tough for them to hit the glass.
Any Toronto big love? Val, Bebe?
It's like I said, it's getting a little crowded there because they have a lot of bodies. I'm still not sure how that'll break up with Val, with Sully, with Bebe, Patterson, and they have Siakam potentially. It's quite a bit of bodies there, and obviously they can go small too with DeMar Carroll at the 4 if they need to. So just some bodies there.
Yeah. I mean, Val's definitely only a tournament option if anything, as we've seen with his floor kind of minutes downside. So that's with minutes. I think maybe if DeRozan's out, I don't know, very small Val exposure, but like Plumlee's in that mix too. I mean, there are other guys I think I like more.
Yeah. Other than that, I'm not really seeing any other guys. I mean, you're sort of getting to like around Tyson Chandler, Clint Powell. I mean, there's Robin Lopez, Zubac. I think is probably not really in the mix regardless. And then you sort of get down to like Al Jefferson range where like people are coming off the bench and not playing. So
you don't want any Zubac love,
dude. He played like 10 minutes yesterday. Like I'm so tilted.
Those guys, Zubac, Black, Mozgov, like I don't like their floors or their ceilings. Like I just don't.
Yeah, you're not. Yeah.
So like one points per dollar guy that's been really good the last 2 games that has a really wide range on DK, whose min price is Willie Trilly. I think kind of take a look at him. I think he's last 2 games 26, 25 DK points. At 3K really only needs like 15, 16 DK points, and he's been playing a decent amount. They're a little thinner now, so I don't know. I think he's kind of interesting and just kind of points per dollar basis. If you're obviously trying to save on DK, which is kind of what you're looking to do.
Yeah, he makes some sense on DK. If you get 25 from a 3K guy and allows you to get some expensive guys, I don't mind that call at all.
Yeah, just roll. Roll him and Matt Barnes and all these guys.
Just roll everybody but Boogie, like fade Boogie. Like maybe they like overload him or something, and he doesn't. I don't know.
Or maybe he gets ejected.
Yeah,
I mean, you never know.
That's true. Yeah, like we mentioned earlier, Matt Barnes could get served a warrant on the court or something. So
you never know with the Kings.
It could be down 2 guys. Yeah,
that's true. All right. Well, we will, I think, end it there. I think we've gone over just about all the players worth discussing. So thanks, everyone, for listening. We will be back next week. We'll keep these as regular as possible, and good luck tonight in all of your contests.
Yeah, I'd say go through all the plays that we mentioned, the players we mentioned, and figure out the player we didn't mention, the best player we didn't mention, and roster that player. Yeah, kind of the Marcus Smart thing that we did last time.
Yeah. I'm trying to think who it is. Who's today's Marcus Smart, but it'll come to us later.
We'll figure it out.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, see you guys.